discuss about that topics on design thinking, creative thinking, and innovation design. So, before going to that, what is the use of this design thinking, creative thinking, and innovation design? For an example, that for a small problem, we have lot of solution. So, suppose that I am giving that I want to know that given number is odd or even. So what normally what we are doing is that we are taking that number modular division of that 2, so that if the answer is that 1, that we are telling that it is odd number, but answer is 0 means it is an even number. So we know that normally that all the students, they know that these only, but apart from that there are a lot of solutions are there. So if you are taking that differently, so if you are thinking differently, you can go for that innovation. So you can get some innovation. Um, for an example, that if your mind is thinking in this one way, you won't get that any different solutions, because whatever that initially that for an example, you take it as the 20 years back. So the 20 years back, that colleges are recruiting the people. So first they recruit the people after their degree. So they are giving that training. So initially that they allotted 6 months for training. Then after that only the people are assigned for project. So now that it is completely changed. So nowadays that all the top MNCs, they are conducting that event like Codathon or Ideathon, then that hackathon, like that they are conducting event. So according to the event, they are for an example that students are participating from your institution means, so according to that student performance, they are giving that offer letter. So that offer letter also, it is not a fixed one. For an example, that the people, they are very much caliber means they are ready to take for, even that they are ready to give 1 lakh per month also. So I'm talking about that minimum salary. So some people, they are got the packages 3.5 lakhs per annum, but some people they may get that 8 lakhs per annum or 10 lakhs per annum, because that company, they so nowadays that company, they are not involving anybody in the training. So at the time of that final year, so they are giving as one option, that is called internship. So for all the companies, they are giving as option called internship. So in the internship, they are giving all the training. So then that once that your degree is completed, then automatically you are recruiting for that particular positions. Even for that internship also, they are ready to give some stipend. So these are the things are going on. So nowadays, so because of this, the people are expecting that candidate should be in innovative. So for that innovative means, so we require that design thinking, creative thinking, and lot of things. So then only you can do for that some innovative projects. Then what is the design thinking? So normally, that what is the difference between the normal thinking and design thinking? So for an example, that if you are focusing of the design thinking process, it is entirely that user centric. So there are various techniques and various methods are used to integrate the user into innovative process early on, so that the developer can understand and implement his or her wishes, needs, and perspective. Suppose that one customer, so you got one project, so that particular customer want to develop one website for their company. So the first and foremost things, you have to check that what are the other websites are designed for that particular. So for an example, they want to start that some bouquet shops, so bucket shop. So for that, you have to check that what are the designs, previous designs are available in the market, so that you have to show some difference. You have to show some difference. It means that you have to add some additional flavors. So it is meaning that some decorative or some, for an example, you can do some animations. For an example, normally what the people are doing means, so they are simply they are keeping that photos in the website. But instead of that, you can do some animations. So animations like that, you have to apply some innovation means, so that customer also satisfied, and the same thing that you will get some other project also. So nowadays that in that central MHRD, so they are very much um eager to students to become an entrepreneur. So what is the need of that entrepreneur is because that if the entrepreneur means they can give some jobs for some 10 to 15 people. But if you are employee that the student is going for that employee means so he is a employee for that one particular employer. But in the same time if he is become an entrepreneur means he can give some 10 to 15 job for others. So that only that MHRD is thinking and for that only that IIC was invented. So design thinking is a non-linear, it is an iterative process which seeks to understand users challenge assumptions, redefine problems and creative innovative solutions to prototype and test. So here that word is one word is that it is called a prototype. So the prototype means whatever that we are implementing, we are not directly, for an example, that one civil engineer got one project. It is some building construction. So they want to construct in the innovative manner. So if means so first you have to create a model. So that prototype. So first you have to create a prototype. Then from the prototype he has to implement the original one. So then only that what to say. So then only you will get that best solutions. So here that we are using that 5 phases. One is the first one is empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. So these are the most useful when you want to tackle the problem that are ill-defined or unknown. So then that background means it is a popularized by Tim Brown and David Kelly of IDEO and Stanford School. So they worked in this institute and it is a structured creative problem solving process but enables that innovation and positive impact. So it is a human centered design process. It is truly understand and emphasize with users. So I already told that these are the 5 phases, but apart from that there are 60 phases also there, but in the initial stage they used only that 5 phases for design thinking. It is emphasize, define, ideate, prototype and test. So this is the design thinking double diamond process model. So the double diamond means that similar kind of setup is applicable, but the thing is that content is changed. So for an example, that first diamond. So first diamond it is only for diverge and converge. So the diverge is it is for discover, and for converge is for define. So first we have to discover big, then from that we have to conclude a small one. Then again that diverge. So diverge means it is a develop. So development means we have to think big. Then that converge. So when we want to deliver means it is a final thing is it's a converge. So which will be accurate one. So the design. So these are the design thinking dimensions. So design thinking toolbox, process, mindset, and corporate strategy. So these are the things. It is a very essential one. So I already told that. So these are the stages or process. It is a emphasis. So it means that you develop a deep understanding of the challenge or problem. So normally if you are taking that software engineering project, so the software engineering project, it is involving that 5 different phases. The first one is that requirement. So the requirement means we have to collect the requirement from the customer. So in that we have to prepare a document. So that document is called as SRS. SRS means it's a software requirement specification document. So it is like a manual. So in the labs and all we are using that lab manual. So like that this is also that manual which contains that all the requirement from the customer. So for each and everything. So suppose that you want to design one website means you have to collect all the things. So what is the need of that particular website? So what are the content we have to add? So what are the pages are required? What is the design he or she is required? Then what is the color of that particular website? So these are the things we have to analyze, and according to that we have to prepare a report. Then that next one is next phase is that first one is that what is it, that requirement. Then that analysis. So we have to analyze that each and everything. Then we have to design. So for an example, that for a particular requirement we have to design, then that we have to implement. So implement means normally that it is called as coding. Then finally it is comes for last stage, it is testing and maintenance. So that once the product is developed, so we are doing for the testing. So we are doing for the testing. So that is the final stage. So here also in the design thinking also we are having the several stages. The first is the emphasis. So here we are developing a deep understanding of the challenge or problem. Then that we are defining. So then the next stage is the define. So here that clearly articulate the problem you want to solve. So so normally in your curriculum or syllabus is designed only for that standard problems. Suppose that if you are taking that C programming or C++ programming means, so there are certain programs are only there. So from the that certain problems we are going to solve. So suppose that the problems are write a program to find the factorial of the given number, or write a program to find that whether the given number is Armstrong number or not, or the finding a factorial or Fibonacci series. So like that only that our complete what to say, that syllabus are framed. But if you are going for that, if you are checking that particular event, so for an example that ideathon or hackathon or some other event, so there they are giving the problem statement. So they are giving the problem statement. So from the problem statement we have to create our solution. So for an example they are giving one page of problem statement. After reading that problem statement, so the solution may be 2 to 3 lines. So the coding may be 2 to 3 lines, or sometimes they may give only 2 to 3 lines of problem statement. But the solution is, it is for around that 100 or 200 LOC. So LOC means lines of code. So like that. So we have to check what are the problems are given, then how we can solve the problem. So that one. So that is called define. It means that clearly we have to articulate the problem you want to solve. Then the next one is the ideate. So ideate means here we are applying some brainstorming techniques. So the brainstorming technique means, so normally in the classroom delivery also, so nowadays that they are recommending, that people are recommending that you have to give some brainstorming in between that your session, because normally that our students mind is, so they can listen the lecture up to 8 to 10 minutes only. So continuously they can listen only that 8 to 10 minutes only. After that, for an example, that faculty members, so they are taking for long also, they cannot understand. It is only for theory. So for an example, if you are teaching one theory, or if you are solving that one particular problem, means they can listen up to only that 8 to 10 minutes. So how we have to plan your lecture is, so first you have to do some recap. So for first 5 minutes or 10 minutes, you have to do the recap. Recap means that previous, whatever that you taught in the previous class, so that one you have to recap. Then you have first lecture. The first lecture means it may contain some 10 minutes or maximum of 15 minutes. Then you have to do some brainstorming technique. So the brainstorming technique, it may be a quiz. You can conduct a quiz, or you can conduct some debate, or any other event. So because of that, students are, but that whatever that you are conducting, so that is related to your subject. If you are not related to that subject, means so that the student's mind is only fixed for that particular brainstorming event. Then after that you have to conduct one lecture. So it may be the 10 to 15 minutes. Then finally you have to conclude your lecture. So it means that 15 minutes lecture means you have to split like the first 5 minutes for that recap, that last 5 minutes for that summary. So it means that you are going to conclude. So you have to conclude that what are the points you are discussed in the classroom, then like that you have to deliver. So if you are delivering like this, means the students can easily understand. And for an example, that whatever that example we are giving, so that one it is in the student's mind, and he can write that for an example during the exam time also, if he is recalling that example, means that he can write that exam perfectly. So I am telling my experience, because that in 2002, I think 2003, I studied that computer network subject. So in that computer networks subject, that OSA model is there. So in the OSA model, there are 7 layers are there. So in the 7 layers, so it is giving that very much confusion. So for that, my professor told that, so you can understand by this statement. So please do not touch my semester paper area. Please do not touch my semester paper area. So in that please. So the first P is it's a physical layer. Do, it is data link layer. Then not means it is a network layer. Touch means it is a transport layer. Then semester means it's a session layer. Then the paper means it's a presentation layer. Then Adyar means it's a application layer. So I can remember, so now also I can remember because I am not handling that computer networks now, but still I am remember that 7 layers. So because I studied only in the 2004, but still I can remember because of the shortcut. So this is like this kind of innovative idea. If you are applying means the student can listen for long time also. And then so that is a ideate. So then the next one is a prototype. So the prototype is a design a prototype or a series of prototype to test all or part of your solution. So nowadays that for all the industries, so they are using the simulation software. So the simulation software is mainly used for before implementing we have to test something. But if you are going for that civil engineering, so they don't have that that much civil software, that simulation software. So instead of that, they are creating some prototype. So because of that prototype, they are getting that final approval. So that same thing they are going to replace in the real time. Then the next one is a test. So the test means it is engage a continuous short cycle innovation process to continually improve your design. So here the test, what is the need of testing? So whatever the product you are designed, if you are before that giving to the customer, you have to do the testing, because in the testing only you can check whether the particular product are designed according to this user requirement or not. Suppose that user they are giving some requirement, so for that you have to maintain that the SRS document. So that in software engineering we are telling that SRS document. SRS means it's a software requirement specification, or we can tell that it is a manual. So in the manual also that what are the things are there, so what are the requirement are there, so that one it is clearly projected. So we have to test that particular thing, so then only that you can ensure that what are the customers requirement are there, so that will be implemented here. So then that same thing, that emphasis is it is understand the user needs and problem. Then define is a analyze your observation to define the problem. Then ideate is a think of solution to each aspects of the problem. Then the prototype. So prototype is a develop a solution prototype for each aspects of the problem. Then finally we are involving the test. So test the product using the best solutions identified. Then that we are going to discuss in each and every stages. So the first stage is a emphasize. So here that research your users needs. So it means that first step of the design thinking process allows you to gain the empathetic understanding of the problem you are trying to solve, typically through that user research. It means that what are the users are there. Suppose that you are designing one website for booking the ticket for railways means, so you have to think in the user point of view also. So that user may have that particular domain knowledge or not, but all the people you have to design that product which is usable for all. So nowadays that lot of mobile apps are there. So even that mobile apps that our kids can handle, but we don't know how to handle. So that much things are there. So that nowadays that current generations are very much brilliant when compared to that our previous generations, because they can handle that all the things. So for an example, if you are giving one problem means they can give that multiple solutions. So why can't you do this? So why can't you can do that way? So like that they are giving some other solution also. So that solution, for an example, normally that we are doing that one thing means. So for an example that our current generations are giving some solutions. So that is very much helpful for our that solutions. So that empathy is crucial to a human centered design process like design thinking, because it allows you to set aside your own assumption about the world and gain real insight into that user and their needs. Then the next stage is a state define. So define means it is here you have to state your users need and problem. So for what are the as per that computer science, for an example, if you are doing that design perfectly means you will get some 90 percentage solution perfectly. So you will get that 90 percentage of what is the output, you can get that 90 percentage output perfectly. So here the design is main thing. So in the, for an example, in computer science part, we are telling that it is an algorithm. So in the define part, we are telling as it's algorithm. For an example, that you are writing, you are capable for writing algorithm for any problem, you can easily implement that one, because that algorithm are for an example, that initially we are using that flowchart algorithm or pseudocode. From that only that we are doing that implementation. So that implementation, it may be any programming language, it may be a C programming language or C++ or any other programming language, but these three are essential. So in the define stage, you accumulate the information you created and gathered during the emphasis stage. You analyze your observations and synthesize them to define the core problems you and your team have identified so far. So you should always seek to define the problem statement in a human-centered manner as you do this. For an example, that you are involving one particular project. So in that particular project, after sometimes you are leaving from that particular projects. So that new person is appointed to that particular projects. It is meaning that, so they want to know about that particular project means whatever the document you have created. So whatever the you are in the emphasis phase, that you are collecting some information from the customers. According to that, you are designing that everything. So you are creating one document. So that document is understandable format. So when you are creating the document means it should be a understandable format. So then only that you can, that others also they can understand what is the requirement of that particular customer. Then the third one is the ideate. So ideate is a challenge assumptions and create ideas. So here the designers are ready to generate that ideas as they reach the third stage of design thinking. So that solid background of knowledge from the first two phases means you can start to think outside the box. So that look for that alternative ways to view the problem and identify innovative solution to the problem statement you are created. So that whenever that you are doing, you are solving one problem means, so you cannot focus on only one solution. For an example, that they are giving one particular problem. So in that particular problem, for an example, that you have to travel from one place to another place. So that is a traveling salesman problem. So you want to travel from one place to another place. So suppose that you are riding in one direction means, so within that half an hour you will reach that particular place. But if you are traveling from other direction, you will reach by some 25 minutes. But the thing is that when you are traveling in that first way, so you have to it is a traffic, so it is a fully traffic. So it is a fully traffic, so that you can reach by 30 minutes. But in other way, that the path is long, so you can assume that it is 40 minutes. So only the 10 minutes you have to travel extra. But the thing is that you can travel without traffic. So that you are having that vehicle, so what you are going to prefer? So if you are preferring for time means, so you will prefer the first solution. But if you are preferring that what is it, that petrol or diesel consumption will be less means, you are going to prefer only the second way, because that in the first way you can travel only in the first gear or second gear, but in the other way you can travel by that top gear also. So that according to your need you can decide that what are the solutions are there. So you can take the decision according to your problem. Suppose that the previous example I told you, suppose that your problem is the time means, you can choose only the first solution, or that fuel consumption means, so you can travel for the second one. Then the next one is a prototype. So the prototype is a start to create a solution. So this is an experimental phase, and the aim is to identify the best possible solution for each of the problem identified during the first three stages. So the design team will produce a number of inexpensive scaled down versions of the product or specific features found within the product to investigate the problem. So the solutions are generated the previous stages. So according to the previous three stages, we are generating the solutions. Then the final one is a testing. So testing is a trying out the solution out. So the designers or developer rigorously test the complete product using the best solution identified in the prototype phase. Normally in computer science means that we are involving that black box testing or white box testing, so that we can test that particular program whether it is running right or wrong. So this is the final phase of the model, but in an iterative process such as design thinking, the result generated are often used to redefine one or more further problems. So the designer can then choose to return to previous stages in the process to make that further iteration, alterations and refinements to roll out the alternate solution. So why that we are mainly focusing on the testing means, so once the testing is over means you will get that solution. So suppose that one particular problem, so they are given some requirement, so but the testing is not satisfied. For an example that I am writing that program for arithmetical operations. So for arithmetical operation I am giving that input is 1 plus 1. So what is the expected output? So it will be 2, but I am getting the 2.1. So it is meaning that something is wrong in the coding. So again that we have to go for that coding and we have to do the debugging and we have to solve, then again we have to test. So these are the 5 phases that we are repeatedly using. So and also that apart from that we are delivering that product to the customer, so that customer want to do some modification in that. So suppose that one particular font is not liked by that particular user, or particular color is not projecting that particular web page like that means. So they will give that there again they will give some modifications. So according to that again we have to redo that one implementation part. So here that for design thinking, so the design thinking, it is an analytical skill, analytical thinking and intuitive thinking. So both are used. So then that we can conclude it is a design thinking. So the analytical thinking is it is a produce consistent and predictable results. So what are the input is given? So like that we need that output. So suppose that I am giving that one input 1 plus 1. So the output is I am getting that 4 different output. One is that 1. One is 2, another one is 2.0, another one is 2.00. So like that I am getting that output. So that answer will be, it may be right, but that output what we are getting is maybe wrong. So one answer will be that exact answer. If I am giving that that both the input as a integer means I have to get only the integer. Suppose that I am getting that I am giving that input is a float means I can get that float value. So in the analytical thinking I am only focusing on the predictable results, so it will be correct. Then that intuitive thinking, so it is a produce the results that meets target objective. So that it means that in the whatever the product is there, so they are adding some masala flavors. So in the output they are adding some masala additional things. Masala flavors means it's additional things. So that output will be, it is looking some innovative. So for these two, that design thinking will work. For design thinking means it requires that analytical thinking as well as the intuitive thinking. It is a 50-50 mixed. But the thing is that analytical thinking is a 100% reliability, but intuitive thinking is a 100% validity. But design thinking is a 50-50 mixing. So that analytical thinking is mostly used for that engineers. So the engineers, they are expecting only the reliable or safe or proven product. For intuitive thinking, so it is mainly used for the designer, that fabulous, I love it. So for an example, that architect, so nowadays that there are a lot of scope for architect. So that architect means, so actually that BE civil engineer students also there, the one BTech architect students also there. So that BE civil engineering students, he may get some 50,000 per month, but BTech architect, he may get some 4 lakhs to 5 lakhs per month, because he is additionally doing that intuitive thinking, so that so he can mainly concentrating on design. He is not concentrating on that particular product, he is mainly concentrating on that additional flavor. It means that when you are cooking, that we are adding some additional masalas, so because that we want to know, so we want to we want that the particular dish will be delicious, and also that we need some aroma from that particular dish. So this is the difference between the traditional problem solving and design thinking. So for traditional problem solving, it is a precise planning, but in design thinking, it's a trial and error. So in traditional problem solving, we can avoid failure, but in design thinking, we have learned from failure. So one proverb is there: we cannot learn anything from the success, but we can learn lot from our failures. So that from the failure only that we can learn many things. And for traditional problem solving, it is a throughout analysis, but the design thinking, it is through the testing only. So then the traditional problem solving, it is a presentation, it is a, for design thinking, it is a small experiments. Then the traditional problem solving, it is focus on customer, but in design thinking, it is strong customer relationship. So if you are focusing only on the customer means, so what are the requirements are there, so that one only you are going to do. That is like a ordinary people, but in the design thinking means we are strong customer relationship. It is meaning that we are giving that additional flavor also. Suppose that one customer, he is giving one project to you, for an example, that instead of that you can add, you are giving that some additional things also. For an example, that nowadays if you are recharging means or if you are buying some biscuit packet also, they are giving some 10 rupees that Paytm talk time, or Paytm wallet, you can add that particular 10 rupees, so that many people are eagerly buying that product. So these are the things that comes from the design thinking only. Then that traditional problem solving, it is a intermittent, but in the design thinking, it is a continuous. So traditional problem solving, we have to think, but in design thinking, we have to do. That is the difference. So the next is a design thinking integrations. So here I am using that IS, IF, WOW, works. For an example, what is, it's a project planning, what is value chain analysis, what is mind mapping. So these are comes under what is. Then that what if means we are using that brainstorming or concept development. So these are the things are there. Then how it will come that what wow, it means that we are assumptioning the testing and prototyping. Then how it works, what works, it is a customer involvement and learning launch. So these are the visualization of design thinking integrations. So here that in the first stage, what is, here we are doing that analyzing, observing, framing, interviewing. So these are the 4 things we are doing in the first stage. Then that in the second stage, it means that what if means we are applying that brainstorming technique, and we are exploring and we are creating the new innovative ideas. Then how that it will become wow, it means that we have to build and we have to evaluate and we have to refine. It means that for an example, when civil engineering is constructing one complete bridge as a prototype means, if you are seeing that prototype, it is perfectly means, so we can appreciate that one. Then finally how it works means, so it is because that we have to test and we have to implement and we have to do that experimenting. So before you have to begin, first you have to identify the opportunities, then you have to define the scope of the project, then you have to draft your design and you have to make the plan. Then during this, so during that starting stage,
Santosh, please pick up the phone.
So during the starting stage, you have to do your research and identify insight and establish the design criteria. And here in this stage, so what if means here we are applying that brainstorm ideas, then develop the concept and create a napkin pictures. Then that in this stage, you have to uncover the assumption and make a prototype. Then finally, you have to get a feedback from stakeholders and begin the learning launches and develop on ramp. So in the design thinking innovations, so first we have to define the challenges, then they gather the data, then they reframe the challenge. Then fourth one is a incubate. So that most of the colleges, they are having that incubation center. So that need of that incubation center is, so instead of that going to that other places, so for an example that they want to work, for an example their students, they want to work in real field. So instead of that, some colleges, they establish that incubation. So what are the things they have to do in the company side? So they are getting some ideas from the incubation center. Then that ideate, then iterate, then implement, then access outcome or refine, and test prototype, then evaluate or refine. So here I am splitting like the design thinking, then lean startup, then agile model. So here that I am splitting as that concrete or abstract. So here that concrete is, it is a emphasis is a concrete. So here only that we are involving the customer problem. Then for abstract is we are defining and ideate. So these are the things. So then we will give some solution. So here that we are giving some solution. So then that lean startup. So from the solution we can go for that startup. So in the startup means we can learn and we can build, iterate, measure. So these are the things are in the circle. So for each and everything, so we are going to learn and we have to build, we have to iterate, then we have to measure these things. It is like a cycle. Then the last stage. So last stage means it is execution and solution phase. So here we are creating the agile model. So in the agile model that we are using that product backlog and sprint planning, sprint execution, shippable increment and sprint review. So here that up to this stage, it is a problem solving phase. Then from here to there, it is a execution and solution phase. Then that previously we discussed about that up to test phase. Then that newly included is, it is a implement. So here that first two phases, it is a emphasis and define. It is comes under understand. Then ideate and prototype, it is comes under explore. Then test and implement, it is comes under materialized. So from the emphasis that we are doing this. So suppose that in the test and implement part, if you are not satisfied means, again we have to start from the starting stage. Then that we are splitting like this, problem space and solution space. So the first three are comes under a problem space. So it is meant that understand, observe and point of view. Then the solution space is called ideate, prototype and test. Then that here that for understanding and observe, we are planning the project and collect the stories or summarize research. So this is all for collecting that what are the requirements from the stakeholders. Then that POV. So here that we are defining the problem and key insights and design the principles. Then that ideate and prototype. So here we are giving the solution. It may be a low fidelity prototyping or high fidelity prototype. Finally, the testing the product. So we are differentiating by defining the problems and defining the solutions. So the understand, observe and POV, it comes under defining problem, and ideate, prototype and test comes under define solutions. Here we are splitting like this, so that some stages like emphasis means here what is the problem. So we are defining the challenges and explore the context. Then the next things, so we are defining. So defining is that what is it important. So it may be it is involving for research, observe and understanding and create a point of view. Then we are moving to this direction. So this direction means ideate, green color. So green color, that how do we solve it? It is a brainstorm or ideas, good or bad, and don't stop the obvious. So then that we are coming to that yellow color line. So yellow color line is it's a prototype. So then the prototype, how do we create it? So we have to start creating, experiment and fall cheap and fast. Then that finally it is a testing stage. So in the testing stage means, does it work? So implement the product, show or don't tell, or start to define the product. Suppose in this stage we are not satisfied, means again we have to go for that emphasis. So initially that problems are, it is like this only. So that people may be in the confusion mind, so they are getting lot of, so because that their mind is not in their single focus on a single solution. So we can do like this, or we can do like that. So like that we are, it will be in the confusion stage. So it is like the first stage is understand. So first we have to understand this problems, customer requirement. Then the next one is observe. So from this, so we'll get that lot of spikes here. So then it is reduced. So then that point of view. So here that it is almost reduced. Then that finally it is comes under the clarity and focus. So the first one is comes under, it is uncertainty or patterns or insight. So here all are confusing stage. So they may get high spikes. Then that we are getting some clarity and we are focusing on that innovation. So that ideate, then that prototype, test and implement. So in the implementation stage, it is like a normal one. So we already in the starting stage we are discussing about the double diamond. So in the double diamond it's like this. So we have to discover, it is a diverge, it is a diverge and converge, then that diverge and converge. So here that discovering, that gain insight thought research, so it may be very big, but from that we have to find the measurable outcome. So the measurable outcome will be that we have to define the problem and modify the action. So it is a converge. Again it is a diverge. So diverge means when we are trying out the different promising approaches. Then finally we have to validate. It is a converge. So these are the things are repeat. Then again that emphasis, it is define, ideate, prototype, test. So from the emphasis, so define means it is the emphasis to help the define the problem. Then from ideate to test. So it is test, create new ideas for the project. Then the prototype to ideate, it is learn from the prototype to spark new ideas. So from the test to define, the relation is the test reveals that insights that redefine the problem or not. Then we are talking about the creative thinking. The first part is that design thinking is over. That now it is we are talking about the creative thinking. So in the creative thinking, lot of problems. Actually, the previous one or this one all same, but the thing is that representations are different. So the problem. For that we are thinking that ideas. So from that ideas we are giving the best solutions. So these are the 10 stages of creative thinking process. It is imagination, innovations, motivations, knowledge, inspiration, vision, idea, brainstorm and mind. Almost all the keywords are repeating here. So there are top creative thinking skills. It is analytical skill, ability to analyze things first, then open-minded, the thinking of the things no one else has considered before. Then problem solving, it is ability to solve an important issue. One problem is given, x plus what is z. So the simple solution is that the question mark is equal to z minus x. So like that we can tell. Then that organization. So being that able to structure a plan of action with clear goals and deadlines. Then finally communication. So the communication is very much important, because whatever that for an example that some 20 people are there means, so for an example for first people I'm telling some 20 words means, when the final one he will get only one word. So we have to give that our communication should be a correct one, and also we have to check that whether that particular communication will reach to all the people. So the strong written or oral skills, ability to listen and ask the right questions. Then how that creativity to innovation. So the creativity is an input, that innovation is an output. So the creativity can describe as bringing a unique approach and way of thinking to the way you do things. So the innovation can be thought of as the result of creating process ending up with a new and better product of service. So the creativity is a thinking of new ideas, then that innovation is a puts into action. Then that here we are giving that definition for what is the creativity is the bringing into that existence an idea that is new to you, then innovation, the practical applications of creative idea, then the creative thinking. So it is an innate talent that you are born with a set of skills that can be learned, developed, and utilized in a daily problem solving. So then what is the creativity? So the creative solutions are more than ideas. So they must work in the real world. A creative solution has three attributes. One is a new, useful, and feasible. Then the types of innovations are business model innovation, then process model innovation. So there are a lot of types are there. First we are discussing about the business model innovation. So it involves the changing the way business is done in terms of capturing a value. So for an example that HP also producing the laptop and Dell also producing the laptop. So they are adding some additional things. For an example that Dell laptops maybe or HP laptops, so they will give that free operating system or they are giving that free MS package like that. For an example, I want to purchase the laptop for 40,000 means, so that I can check in the internet, so that what are the additional things are they are giving, or sometimes that keyboard. So for an example, if you're checking the gaming keyboard means, they will give that extra light in the keyboard, so that if you're pressing that particular key means that you will get some different colors. Then the process innovation. So the process innovation, it involves the implementation of a new or significantly improved productions or delivery methods. Then the product innovations. So the product innovations, which involves the introduction of new good or service that is new or substantially improved. So this might include that improvement of that functional characteristics, technical abilities, ease of use, or any other dimension. Then the next is the service innovations. Is similar to the product innovation, except that innovation relates to services rather than the product. Then these are the three important components for creativity: expertise, motivation, and creative thinking skill. So that expertise means that in a word or knowledge, technical or procedural and intellectual. The motivation is, so not all motivations is created equal, and inner passions to solve the problem at hand leads to solution far more creative than do external rewards such as money. Suppose that I am giving that assignment to that all the students to submit topic regarding that design thinking. So all the students are submitting that assignments, but some students they are giving some creativity. For an example, they are in the front, they are giving some borders, or that when they are writing that they are giving that models, and or else that I'm telling that students to download that content, and they have to prepare a content and they have to take a print. Some students they will take in the black and white, or some students they will take in the color. So whatever that things are there which will be attractive, we will get that extra marks. Suppose that I'm ready to give that for instead of 5 marks, I'm ready to give some 4 marks means, for that creativity I can give that 5 marks also. Then the creative thinking skills, that it determines how flexible or imaginatively people approaches problem. Then myths about the creativity: the smarter you are, the more creative you are. Then the second one, that young are more creative than old. So these are the myths about the creativity. So then the third one is the creativity is reserved for few, that flamboyant risk takers. Then the creativity is a solitary act. You cannot manage that creativity. So so for that only, that if you see that movie, that Avatar, that particular movie, we cannot imagine that type of aliens are there, but they are that much, they are imagined. So nowadays that in many movies they are not using that actors, so instead of that actors they are using that animations. Then the tools for creating new ideas. So it is attribute listing, brainstorming, and visioning. So that attribute listing means, so that use that attribute listing when you have a situation that can be decomposed into attributes, which itself can be usefully creative activity. So it is particularly useful with that physical object, that you can use it elsewhere at too. So that is a highly rational type, so that's suitable for people who prefer analytical. So people who prefer analytical approaches, it is good for engineering type situations. So these are the things about that attribute listing. So we have to ask that questions like what and how. So WH questions, so what, when, where, so like that questions we have to include. Then we are talking about the brainstorming. So the brainstorming technique I already discussed in the starting. So we have to split our lecture like first 5 minutes for recap, then another 15 minutes for lecture 1, then 10 minutes for brainstorming session, then another 15 minutes, then 5 minutes, like that. So in that brainstorming technique, we can involve that lot of techniques. Either you can conduct that quiz, or you can conduct the debate, or you can conduct some activity which is related to a particular topic, like that. So that all the students can involve, and that activity should will be memorized till their lifetime. So there are some brainstorming rules. There is no criticism or debate, then quantity over quality, free will, then combine and improve. So that brainstorming work, then we people use that others ideas to trigger their own thinking, so we can use that others ideas also. Then the next one is a vision. So that vision, that all the colleges nowadays they are having that mission, vision, then quality policy because of NAC. For that, it is main thing is that vision is required for all, because that without vision we cannot achieve our mission. So that a vision is a motivating view of the future. It creates pull, so it gives the direction. So imagine that brilliant or innovating future. Think about what you are going to trying to achieve. So go out into the future. So look around and see what is there. So that it is a dynamic and emotive words to paint that motivating pictures. So use the words like that, sharp, now, or values. So like that. So vision works because we are an imaginative species and are motivated by what we perceive as a possible or desired future. So these are the organizational characteristics that support creativity and innovations. So the risk taking is acceptable to management. Then employees have that access to knowledge sources. Then innovators are rewarded. So that new ideas are and new ways of doing things are welcome. So the information is free flowing. Then good ideas are supported by
Please pick up the phone.
executive patrons. Then that we are creating a creative climate, we need that motivation. So in that motivation, because of the motivation, we can go for the challenge and fun. Then empowerment. So empowerment means that we can go for that freedom, time, and support. Then dynamism, it is energy, debate, and dialogue. Then openness, that is experimentation, trust, and risk. So this is the difference between innovations and creativity. For innovation, it is the introducing of new or improved products, services, and process. But in creativity, we are imaginations of ideas to create something. So the innovation, it is related to implementation, but creativity, it is related to imaginations. Then innovations can be measured, but creativity we cannot measure. Then the innovations are related to observation, but creativity, it is related to experience. Then innovations, its risk of failures are there, but in creativity there is no direct risk factor. Then that for innovations, cost of implementation, but in creativity, cost of employee time. Because of dream, that most of the people, they are spending their time. So the time constraint is there in the creativity. Then for innovation, it is an organizational process, but in creativity is a personal quality. So these are the things we are discussing in the motivation attributes and skills. So motivation means the dream, passion, discovery, curiosity, challenge, fun, driven, reward. Then for attitude means it is value creation, creative, dissatisfaction, open-minded, breaking rules, risks, tasking, learning, like that. And skills means that invention, observations, or simulations, like that. So then that we are evaluating that our ideas by using these kind of techniques. So the first one is a SWOT analysis template. So the SWOT is it is a strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats. So for NBA and also we have to, for an example, they are asking in the interview also, you can tell your SWOT. So what is your strength, what is your weakness, what is your opportunities, what is your threats. For colleges also they will tell that SWOT. Then the Delphi questionnaire. So in the Delphi questionnaire means it is a service with the open-ended questions. So the results are evaluated, then responses are categorized by a panel, then questionnaires are completed by experts. Then finally, the quantitative questions are developed and new questionnaires are designed. Then the Gemba walk. So then the Gemba walk, the first one is defining the topic, then instruct the observed users, then focus on process and product and take a close look at the critical points. Then the fifth one is a document the results, do not make the suggestions during the walk. Then the sixth one is we invite that further observer with a different perspective. Then the last one is discuss the observation and subsequent action with the observers. Then the next one is a prototype. So we already discussed the prototype, and first is creating a prototype. Then we have to test and evaluate the prototype. Then the third stage is for the development the prototype. So once that we have to create a prototype, and whether that particular prototype is okay or not. Then according to that we have to further develop the real one. Then the difference between problem oriented thinking and design thinking. So in the problem oriented thinking, it is called as critical thinking. We are using the W questions, means that why, what, where, like that. So for an example, that why need or study a particular topic, why the need for that learning space redesign, why the need for digital learning. So like that. So finally, that result is a problem formulation. But if you're going for the design thinking, it is a solution oriented thinking. So that is here we are using the creative strategy. How? So the creative strategy to support the transformative learning or engineering design methods and tools and creativity stimulating techniques. So finally we are getting the solution to the problem. So when you are applying the logic, we are focusing on that only that single type of things. But if you want to creative means, so they applying that many logics. So for single problem, you have to apply that many logic. So there is no one solution for that one particular problem. So there may be lot of solutions are there. That may be a colorful solutions also. So that is the difference between that logic and creative. So has that Einstein that proverb, we can't solve problem by using the same kind of thinking we used when we created them. So these are some of the keywords which is related to creativity, innovation thinking, design thinking and all.
Santosh,
so
please pick up the phone.
So now I'm concluding my sessions. So these are my details, my mail ID. So that mail ID is that bsanthosh.cscgnit@gnindia.org, hodcec.gnit and gnindia.org. These are my college mail IDs. So then the last one is my personal mail ID, bsanthoshkumar@gmail.com. So this is my personal website. So if you want to know about that my research, so you can visit this website. If you have any queries also, you can contact this number related to anything, so you can contact this number. So this my WhatsApp number also, and thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for sharing us your knowledge and enlightening us with all this information. I hope it was very useful for all faculty members. Now the platform is open for questions. Participants who have questions can make use of this time, and you can also post your questions in the chat box. Thank you, sir. Hope everyone is clear and has no doubt. Uh, Now we are in the concluding part. I would like to invite Professor Liane Maria from the Department of Social Work to deliver the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Prasan. Uh, Very good afternoon to everyone present here. It gives me great honor and privilege to present the vote of thanks for today's session. First and foremost, thanks goes out to Dr.B.Santhosh Kumar, Innovation Ambassador, Professor and Head, Guru Nanak Institute of Technology, Hyderabad. Sir, we thank you so much for all your wonderful information and input. You have truly given us a lot of information today, and we are grateful for your time and your efforts. I would also like to thank the management of Patrician College of Arts and Science for allowing us and giving us constant support in all our endeavors. A big thanks to the Institution Innovation Council of Patrician. Thank you, team, for organizing this wonderful event and program for us. Thank you to all the participants for your participation. Have a good day.
Thank you, ma'am. I kindly request all the faculty members to leave their feedbacks in the feedback link given in the chat box. Thank you everyone for attending the session. Have a nice day.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.